So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make some stud earrings, and I'm going to show you how to actually design them on the computer. So you can print these out and keep making these, and you can also take just about any picture and turn them into a silhouette, and then put it into a piece of metal just like this. So let's get started. So in this, I'm going to show you how to make these little sharks, but I'm also going to show you how to make a just silhouetted one, because I know not everyone can saw this tiny and make all these details inside of it. Also, I'm going to be using this sheet of silver that I made using my roller mill from Pepe Tools, and then I'm going to use two pre-made pieces that are the actual posts. So as you see with the posts, it kind of looks like a nail. It just basically has a flat edge on one side, and then it's smooth and rounded. These are silver. You don't want to use anything other than silver or gold for earrings because it's going through the skin, and copper or brass or nickel or any of that will react poorly with the skin and cause infections or turn everything green, depending on the person, or allergic reactions. So use silver or gold. You can make these too. Just get wire that's about 1 millimeter or 0.9 millimeter and just cut it to the right length and make sure you round the end so it's not sharp. If you're looking for exact sizing on these, they are basically 11 millimeters long and about 0.9 millimeters thick. As for this, it's a little over 1 millimeter thick. You can use thinner if you want. For example, I have this huge piece of brass. That is about 0.8 millimeters. Anything thinner than that, you're going to start running into some problems with it bending. So to make these little guys, I need to go onto the computer and show you how I did that. So we'll head over there now. Alright, now that I'm in my computer, I can show you how I make all of my patterns, basically. I use an old version of Adobe Illustrator, or you can use a program called Inkscape, which is a free program that I'm not as proficient with because I have the older version of Illustrator that I've been using for years. But if you wanted to learn the basics of both of these, because that's really all you need, you can use the link below this video and it will give you 2 months free of Skillshare, and you can take any of the classes on there on either one of these and learn how to use them. So for Illustrator, there is a, I think, 7-day free trial that you can use to get used to it, but after that it's $21 a month. So it's really up to you. I'm using a really old version and it works for what I'm doing. But anyways, I'm going to go over this shark. So this is the basis of the shark that I made. And as you can tell, I didn't make it exactly the same. So you can see the differences here. And even after making this, I realized that I can't possibly cut these two lines. But I just left it all in there, and I cut what I can. But to make one of these, I will show you exactly how I do that real quick. So you need some sort of picture as a reference. A lot of times I'll just draw something and then take a picture of it and send it over to myself. And I use a tool called the pen tool. And what this does is it allows you to make curved lines like this. This tool does take a bit to get used to, just because these little handles here will change how your curve is and all that stuff. It's like a trial and error type of thing, and it takes time to get used to it. Also, this program in general is kind of weird when it comes to making stuff, as you'll see how I make this shark. Also, I am absolutely not a professional or even proficient with this program. It's just really handy for me to make my patterns. So I made the basic shape here, and I'm going to make his fin. And I try to leave most of my things with curves around edges to make it easier for cutting and so things aren't sharp. And you'll notice I'm making weird random shapes inside. This will make sense once I combined everything. And you're going to be happy to know that I'm going to be linking to everything I talk about in this video in the description below. So if you want any of these files or patterns already done, you can get them. Or if you want access to these programs, I will have links to everything. So just check the description or the pinned comment of this video. And don't get too caught up on making everything perfect, because this is going to get shrunk way down and you will not see most of the detail work. Okay, so for most of these pieces, I'm going to take them and combine them together. And that's why I overlapped them in the way I did, because they have to be overlapping or it won't connect properly. For this one, it's not a full piece, and I actually want to use this as a cutting template, so I'm just leaving that on top. As for the eye, I'm going to make it about the same size for now. But you'll notice this is a floating piece, and that's impossible to have in one piece of metal. So what I'm going to do is make another circle and place it up here like so. And then just take this away so I have a copy of it, and merge these two together so it only leaves the inner part of the eye, and then just put this back over here. So with that said, it's this size for now, but this is going to get scaled way down, so I'll come back and change the size of the eye because it's going to be way too small. So what I've learned from actually making this piece already is I don't need the mouth lines. I just need the zigzag for the teeth. So that should be good. So now I'm going to make a square that is 10 by 10 millimeters, because that's how big I want the shark to be. And then I'm going to take the entire outline for this shark and group it so all the pieces are stuck together. No matter where I click, I can't move anything around. And then I'm going to scale it down. And then take it and put it in the middle of this cube and use some of the alignment tools to make sure it's actually centered. And I want it to fit within the box. So now I'm looking at it like this. If I ungroup it, I can look at individual pieces. This is only 1.5 millimeters around, which is tiny. And I'd have to drill a hole through this. So what I'm going to do is scale it up. And then move it down and around a bit. Like so. So now this is 2.2 millimeters. So I can drill in this area with a small drill bit and cut all this stuff out. So that was a really fast overview of how to make the little shark guy with inserts and basically making it my own from an existing picture. So I'm going to get rid of this one because it's a little more complicated. And then we're going to bring up the bunny. So this is just a traditional bunny silhouette. And you can do the same thing with this. You can really do this with anything. You just have to keep in mind how you're going to cut inside pieces if you are adding detail like that. So, same thing, you just basically follow the curves that go around it. And there's a good reason why I even bother with these instead of just printing these out with all the pixels that you can see on like the bunny pattern and stuff like that. It's so I can scale these to whatever size I want, and they don't lose any of the clarity to the pattern. So if I needed a bunny the same size as this one, that was 50 millimeters, I could scale it up and it'll look fine. Or I could scale it down to whatever I need, basically. With pictures like this that you just download, scaling up and down will distort the edges a lot, and I like to work with clean edges when I'm cutting stuff. This also allows me to make little modifications that need to be done to make it work as a cutout. So for this bunny, I'm going to do the same thing, make a box. Just going to align both of these, and then scale this down. So now I have my bunny, and it's the right size, so I can just delete the box. So, when I print these out, I print them onto label paper, and I don't like wasting the paper, so what I do is I print a lot of them, even if I'm not going to be using them. Because my label paper is thermal paper, it doesn't use ink. And once a label is printed, I can't use it again. I can't run it through like you would on a normal printer. So I'm just going to duplicate the bunnies a bunch. There's probably an easier way to do that, but I don't know of it, so I'm not going to use it. Because like I said, I'm not super proficient at this, I just know how to make patterns using it. And do edits on thumbnails. So, I can print this out now, and I will have these patterns, and I can make as many of these as I want, and this is a really good way to be consistent and make the same patterns over and over again. Say if you're selling a bunch of one thing that is one shape, instead of having to draw it every time and it changing, you could just make a bunch of these. So let me print this out, and we will start cutting them out of some metal. So as you can see, they came out all nice, and no weird like pixels or anything like that. So it's a very crisp and clear view on everything. So all I'm going to do now is cut these out and stick them to my metal, and we can start cutting them out. When using the label paper, make sure you leave a little bit of an edge, because it makes it really easy to peel these. If you don't do that, it makes it really hard to get the edge to separate. So I'm just going to take my silver bar and place my bunny patterns like that. And we'll get our shark patterns on here next. Alright, so both of these are on here, and when it comes to our shark, because of the eye, I need to actually make a little mark there, drill it, and do a piercing cut to cut that out. For our rabbit, nothing, it's just a silhouette, so you just follow the outside. You could do the shark without the eye and cut everything else without using any type of drilling. So for this particular cut, you're going to run into some problems using this type of setup, because you're going to hit this. So what I'm going to do is cut a straight line through here, because I'm going to be cutting everything out of this anyways, and it gives me less material. So I'm not hitting this. I do have one that is flush, that it doesn't matter what size material you're using, but I like to use this one for small cuts because of these holes. Alright, so I'm going to cut out the bunny rabbits first. So here we go. We have our little bunny, and if you flip it over, you can see that it's a nice solid piece of silver. So I need to cut out the other one still, but I'm going to cut out the shark next to show you the difference. So when it comes to the shark, I have to actually do a piercing cut. So I need to put this through the hole I drilled, and then reset my blade. So this is a lot more finicky because you're cutting a very small area. So there we go. Now we have the eye cut out with the iris still in it. You can kind of see it right there. So now I can cut out the rest of this. And you might notice I'm cutting out all of the outside perimeter first. Well, not all of it. You'll see in a sec. So now I'm going to cut into the body a bit so it has that line for the fin. And then I'm going to work my way backwards and spin my blade around right here. and cut out rest of the fin area. And back up again, and go back to the mouth. The reason why I do this while this is all in here, because I have all this metal to hold on to still. If I cut out everything, I have only that little tiny piece of metal to hold on to. But going to the mouth part is going to be a little difficult that way, so I'm just going to cut directly in from here. Take this little piece of silver and put it aside. Now I have access to the mouth area. And then I'm just going to make a little zigzag. At this point, I'm just kind of freehanding how the mouth is going to look. Now I can go back into the silhouette area, or the outline, and finish cutting this out. When it comes to the fin on the top here, I actually like cutting a little bit past it. And it helps kind of show off the fin area. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And then flip it around and finish the cut. There we go, we have our little shark. And if you flip him over, so you can see all the metal, that's what he looks like. I can clean up his iris part a little bit more, but I will leave it like this for now. Alright, so now that these are done and all cut out, we have to remove the paper from them. And there's two ways to do this. One, you could just take it off using your nails or something to grab it, which it just takes a while. Or you can just burn it off like I do. If you do burn them off, make sure that you have ventilation set up, or you're going to smoke out your entire room with paper smell. Alright, so now that all that paper's off, we need to figure out how we're going to be soldering these posts on, and where. Because you really have a lot of options on at least the solid pieces. When it comes to pieces like this, you're kind of limited. You could do it over here on the tail area, or you could do it like how I did it and put it right here in the centerpiece because it fits perfectly right here. So after drying all this up, I'm going to place one piece of solder in the place where my post is going to go. And because these are so small, I'll be very careful when heating them, but we're going to heat them just until our solder melts. Just like that. So we're going to let these cool down, and then I'll throw them into our pickling solution to clean them up, and then we can solder on our posts. Alright, with that all out, I'm going to put flux on it again. And then I'm going to take one of my posts and put flux on the end of it. I'm going to also hold them in a set of tweezers like this. And what I'm going to do is heat this up and get it to the point where my solder is going to flow. And just kind of place that on there. And there we go, we're attached. So it's super simple to put these on. And we're going to do the same thing when it comes to our little Sharky boys. But we don't want to overheat it because it will make our solder flow into all of our cracks and fill them in actually. And we don't want that because we want the detail. And there we go. We have our little stud on our sharks. So I just have to do this to all of them, throw them into the pickling stuff again to clean them up, and then we can start polishing them. I'll show you how I polish these. Alright, so we're going to play with some rotary tools now. So I'm going to be using one of these rotational discs. This is a 220 grit. And it's just going to clean up any of the edges on here. You can get more detailed and use a set of diamond bits that you can get into all the little crevices and clean it all up, but we'll see how much of that needs to get done. As for holding these, because they're very finicky when holding them, I use a ring clamp, and I use the flat side of it. So if I take this, I can put the post down inside of there, and not only can I put one of them, I can put multiples. So I can fit more than one in there. And just take this block and push it in, and it will keep everything in place. So now I'm just going to go over them real quick and clean them up. So that will clean up most of the front. It looks like I have a little bit of a dent in the front of this one, but it'll be fine. So once I get them all pretty much cleaned up, I'm going to polish them. Typically, I would throw these into a tumbler, but I found out when making this video that my tumbler motor is burnt out. So I have no more tumbler. So I have to do this by hand. So all I'm going to do is go over them with a polishing compound. So it really doesn't take much to get these up to a nice high polish. They also get extremely hot. If you have polished things before, you will know this. So what I'm going to do is after they cool down a bit, so I can actually handle them, I can take them out of here and place them in here like this, so I can actually polish the other side and the posts. Just be careful when doing this not to push it too hard, or you'll bend them. So that's it for polishing the little Sharkies. I need to clean them off with some hot water and soap to get all this polishing compound off, or put them inside of a sonic cleaner. But I'm going to polish up the bunny rabbits real quick, and then do them all at once. So there we go. All of them have a nice little polish on them, and they just need to be cleaned up. And like I said, if you have a tumbler, you could just throw these directly in there for a couple hours with some steel shot, and it'll clean them perfectly, and also it'll work harden them, so they won't bend as easy. So let me go clean these up, and I'll be right back with them all done. So here they are all cleaned up, and pretty much ready to go. All they need is the little backings for them. And that's about it. You can get different backings too. These particular ones are really bad. I just can't find my silicone ones that I have. So that's pretty much it. These are really simple to make, and you just need basic sawing skills and some soldering skill along with that to do these. And like I said, you don't have to do all the crazy stuff inside of this. You can do just a simple silhouette of whatever you like. And then solder on your post, and you're pretty much good to go. Just make sure that you're actually using silver for your post, and you can even coat the back of your earring if you really want to, if you're using brass, like these ones, because the brass is going to be touching the person's ear, and it could still cause a reaction and color change. So you can plate the back with silver or gold, or you can put a clear coat on it. So feel free to check out the playlist down here to see more jewelry techniques, and the video up here is something that YouTube picked just for you. Other than that, that's it for this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!